Hello, my name is Gabby. Welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be doing another if you like this book, then I think you should check out this book recommendation kind of video. I've done this kind of video a numerous amount of times on my channel. I will have all the previous ones that I've done linked down below, but this is one of my favorite style of book recommendation videos. I just really enjoy finding similarities between books. Some of them are kind of like random, to be honest. Like some of them I just get a similar vibe from both of the books, and I feel like if you're looking for something in one book or you really enjoyed something from one book and you want to find that in another book, then I've got some recs for you. But before we do jump into the books, I just wanted to say a huge thank you to Ana Luisa for sponsoring today's video. Ana Luisa is a jewelry brand that I've been working with for quite some time now, and I find their pieces to be absolutely stunning. They have rings, earrings, necklaces, bracelets, all sorts of things. Something that I do love about working with Ana Luisa is the fact that they're sustainable because they offset 100% of their carbon emissions. They also send all of their jewelry in these very small bags, and they get delivered in a very small box so that they can be as sustainable and environmentally friendly as possible. All of their jewelry is a great gift for a friend if you're looking to buy a gift for a friend, or if you're looking to treat yourself. They're a really great gift for yourself because they're not too expensive. They start at $39 and up, and there's no luxury markups. They offer speedy delivery all around the world, and their prices are fair, and their pieces are made with exceptional quality. They make long-lasting products, and they use the best noble metals, and they also offer a 365-day warranty. The first piece that I selected this time around is this necklace, which is so gorgeous because it's a double chain necklace, so there's two separate chains. One of them is one of the beaded chains, which I've said before is one of my favorite Ana Luisa features. Like, I love Ana Luisa pieces that have this extra beaded necklace. It just adds that extra bit of flair to the piece, and I just really enjoy that. And I really like this necklace in particular because I feel like it looks very luxurious and simplistic at the same time. The next piece that I chose is this ring here, which I love Ana Luisa's rings. I talk about this every time I do a video with them, but their rings are my absolute favorite, and this one is no exception. This one is beautiful because it's almost like two rings that are crossed together, and it has these really pretty studded pieces on it, and it just looks so fancy, but it's so easy to slide on. It looks kind of complicated, but it's so simple. And then I also have this white band ring, which this one also is super simplistic, but I love how bold and how beautiful it looks. I'm also a huge fan of their adjustable rings because it makes it so easy to be able to put it on different fingers, because some of my fingers are different sizes, which makes things kind of annoying. I'm a huge fan of Ana Luisa's rings. Like, I seriously wear them on a daily basis, and they've become like my go-to rings. So yes, I really love Ana Luisa, and I highly recommend checking them out. And you can get 10% off when you use the link in my description and use my code gabbyreads10 and get 10% off your order. So thank you so much to Ana Luisa for sponsoring today's video. And now, without any other further ado, let's jump into the books. Alright, so the first one is going to be, if you enjoyed Big Little Lies, then I would highly recommend The Hunting Wives by May Cobb. And I know you're probably like, shut up about The Hunting Wives, Gabby, we already know. I really genuinely feel like if you enjoyed Big Little Lies, then you would absolutely love The Hunting Wives, because both of these books are kind of like small town suburban moms gossip drama murder vibes. And in Big Little Lies, like, you've probably heard of this, it's a super popular book. It's all of these suburban moms. There's like this fundraiser night where there was this murder that happened. We don't know who was murdered at the beginning of it, and we just kind of follow along and try to find out what happened. And there's a lot of drama between this group of moms. It's just very highly entertaining. And if you loved the suburban mom gossip drama in Big Little Lies, then I think you would love The Hunting Wives, because this one takes place in a small town in Texas. There's this new mom that moves from Chicago to Texas, and she joins this group of moms who call themselves the Hunting Wives because they go and shoot their guns on Friday nights, and something happens, and it's just very similar in vibes. And if you're a fan of those like suburban moms drama kind of books, like, those are honestly some of my favorite thrillers, then I think you need to check both of these out. Next up is going to be, if you enjoyed Daisy Jones and the Six, then I highly recommend the final revival of Opal and Nev. It honestly feels to me like Opal and Nev was probably a little bit inspired by Daisy Jones and the Six, because both of these books are books that follow rock bands in the 70s. I'm pretty sure they both take place in the 70s. It's been a minute since I read them, but they're both incredible incredibly similar, not only in vibes because they're both following rock bands in the 70s, but also because of the way that these stories are told, because they're both kind of told in this interview-like format where you don't really get any chapters that are just like directly from a character's point of view. You mostly just get interviews with the band and like seeing different article tidbits of like what happened to the band during that time and stuff like that. They're just told in a very similar way, and I feel like both Daisy and Opal are very iconic female characters that you just want to root for in both of these books. Like, I just really enjoyed both of these books. I think I actually ended up enjoying Opal and Nev even more than Daisy Jones and the Six. They were just both a great time, and I also highly recommend both of these as audiobooks because they're full cast audiobooks, and I feel like that is the experience that you need to go with, because reading these physically, I can imagine for both of these books is probably pretty boring. At least that was my experience with Daisy Jones and the Six. I tried reading this physically first and it was a DNF for me, and so I highly encourage checking out the audiobooks. They're so fantastic because they have full cast and they're just so much fun. So the next one that I have is if you enjoyed The Winter People by Jennifer McMahon or Pet Sematary by Stephen King, then I think you need to read The Drowning Kind by Jennifer McMahon. And I know it's like, of course, if you enjoyed one book from an author, you're probably going to want to check out previous books by that author. But these two are so specifically similar that I feel like if you enjoyed one, you'll really enjoy the other one. And I don't know why, I feel like all of Jennifer McMahon's books are very reminiscent of Pet Sematary. Like, they all really remind me a lot of Pet Sematary. Both of these books do this really great writing style where they jump back and forth between the past and the present, and there's something spooky happening in the past and in the present, and you're trying to figure out how they're connected in both of these stories. In this book, it's just this very small town, these people are going missing, you're not totally sure what's happening, and then in this book there's this like magical water that was in the past that maybe gives you a miracle, but then it also curses you. And this is kind of going off on a tangent, but I also feel like if you really enjoyed Pet Sematary, then you should probably check out Alotsuwe, because Alotsuwe in this book has this magical ability that's very similar to something that's happening in Pet Sematary. I want to make it clear though that this book is not horror. This book is more like fantasy, magical realism type of vibes, while Pet Sematary is pretty much horror. But all of these books are horror books. This next one is also a very complicated recommendation, but I feel like if you enjoyed The Cabin at the End of the World, Room, or Bird Box, then I think you need to check out Near the Bone. And this is so hard to explain this, but I feel like Near the Bone is a perfect combination of everything that I loved about all three of these books. If you didn't know anything about Near the Bone, it's following this woman and her husband who are living on the top of this mountain, and they're very isolated at the top of this mountain. And her husband is like low-key this abusive fucking asshole. Like, he's just like the worst. Like, you do not want to be stuck with him at the top of this mountain. And then they figure out that there might be this freaking monster on the mountain with them, and they're trying to figure out how to get away from the monster. And for the isolation reason alone, like the isolated cabin vibes, it reminded me of The Cabin at the End of the World. And then the whole monster thing reminded me quite a bit of Bird Box, if I'm being honest. And then Room, this book reminded me a lot of Room for reasons that I can't explain. But oh my god, I feel like if you enjoyed any of these three books, then you need to read Near the Bone. Near the Bone is a horror novel, and it's one of the best horror novels I've read all year. It's so freaking good. Alright, next up I have, if you like The Kind Worth Killing by Peter Swanson, I think you should check out Confessions on the 745. And I will admit that The Kind Worth Killing is definitely the superior book out of these two books. I mean, this one is one of my absolute all-time favorite books. And then Confessions on the 745 was like about a 4-star book for me. But I think the reason why these books are very similar is because they're both thrillers, and they both have characters that kind of get brainwashed by strangers into committing crimes that they probably would have never committed in the first place if it wasn't for them. And so I think if you enjoyed that about The Kind Worth Killing, because the whole premise of The Kind Worth Killing is that we're following this man who meets this stranger woman in the airport who convinces him that he should murder his wife. Then the premise on Confessions on the 745 is about these two women who meet on this train, on the 745 train. They kind of persuade each other to do things in their lives that they might have not done otherwise. And so I just feel like because of that element alone, these are very similar thrillers and vibes. And if you really loved that in The Kind Worth Killing, like a stranger being able to persuade someone to do something they would have never done before, and you're looking for that in another book, then I would check out Confessions on the 745. It's a pretty wild ride. Was that a train pun? This next one is kind of random, but we're just gonna roll with it because I think if you like Take a Hint, Dani Brown by Talia Hibbert, I think you might enjoy Hang the Moon by Alexandria Bellafleur. And I think the only reason for this is because These are both the second book in a romance series, and they're both books that I really enjoyed. I actually enjoyed both of these sequels even more than the first book in their series, but also because both of these books are romances that have a bisexual female protagonist who ends up with a man, which I think is very unique. At least for me, it's been challenging to find like bisexual romances where they end up with a person of the opposite sex, because I feel like it's so common when we see bisexual representation. It's so common to see them end up with someone of the same sex, and so these books are both similar for that reason alone. But they're also just so freaking cute, and they're both 5-star romances for me. They're both some of my favorite romances of all time, and so if you're just looking for another cute, light, fluffy romance that'll make your heart die that has a bisexual female main character, then here you go. You're welcome. They both also have some of the softest male love interests that I've ever had the pleasure of reading about. And these books are just cute as hell, okay? They're cute as hell. They both made me smile so much. This next one's also just a little bit random. This one is mostly the vibe that I get from both of these books, but I feel like if you enjoyed The Shining by Stephen King, I feel like you need to check out The Book of Accidents by Chuck Wendig. Both of these have haunted places. I mean, in this book, The Shining, it's like the haunted hotel vibes, you know? It's like the family that gets isolated at this hotel for 5 months, and the hotel might be a little bit haunted, or maybe it's just the dad and his like psychological stuff going on. You don't really know. It's a mystery. Then in The Book of Accidents, we're following this family who is in this haunted house. And in this book, the family that's moving into the haunted house, it's the dad. His name is Nathan. His father used to be really abusive when he was a kid, and now his father has passed away and left behind his childhood home, but his childhood home is like low-key haunted. And I feel like both of these have in common the fear of this like abusive father. And this is kind of confusing to explain, but like the fear that this current father has of abusing their son when they're unaware, or like unintentionally abusing their own sons because they were abused themselves. And I don't know, just the whole like scary abusive father thing, and also possibly a haunted place that they're staying in. It's very similar in vibes in that way. And I just really enjoyed The Book of Accidents. I feel like The Book of Accidents goes in a direction that you probably won't expect. It's just totally wild and crazy, but the first half of the book definitely felt like The Shining to me. Next one that I have is if you liked Finlay Donovan is Killing It or Arsenic and Adobo, I think you need to check out Dial A for Aunties. This is one of my most recent reads, Dial A for Aunties, and it was so entertaining. And these can all be described as like cozy murder mystery books, I guess. They're murder mystery books that also have a hint of romance in them, and they're just mostly lighthearted and fun, is the only way I know how to describe these. I mean, Finlay Donovan is Killing It is probably the most superior to me out of all of these, because this book was just, oh my god, it was just so great. But I also think Finlay Donovan is Killing It had the least amount of romance in it out of the three, so that's probably why this one ended up being my favorite. But all three of these books have these like accidental murder vibes happening. They have these like women that have to deal with these situations in a really funny way. I do think that if you liked the culture and the family aspect in Arsenic and Adobo, then you're especially going to love Dial A for Aunties. And in Arsenic and Adobo, this one specifically deals with the Filipino culture and the Filipino food. And then in Dial A for Aunties, this is more the Chinese and Indonesian culture. And it's about this young woman who goes on this blind date with this man who she accidentally kills. And then it's about how all of her aunties have to help her deal with this, and all of the aunties are just so fun to read about. And honestly, all of these books are just so cute and just brought a smile to my face. I do think Finlay Donovan is Killing It and Dial A for Aunties are the best out of these. Arsenic and Adobo ended up being just okay for me, but I do think if you love the cultural aspect in this book, you'll love Dial A for Aunties. And then next up I have, if you enjoyed Red, White, and Royal Blue or One to Watch, then I think you would really enjoy The Charm Offensive. This book actually compares itself to both of these books on the back of this book, and it's crazy because while I was reading this, I didn't even realize that this book had compared itself to these two books, and I had already thought like, oh, these books are also similar, perfect. And this book, if you didn't know, it's basically following this young guy who gets selected to essentially be the Bachelor on this very Bachelor-like show, and then instead of falling for one of the women on the show, he ends up falling for one of his male producers named Dev. And I think for that reason, it's very similar to One to Watch, because One to Watch also follows a very Bachelor-like show. So if you enjoyed reading a book that's kind of like The Bachelor, but is a lot more inclusive and diverse than the actual show The Bachelor, then I think you would enjoy this book because of that. But then also the vibes of Red, White, and Royal Blue, and the fact that it's a male-male romance in the eye of the public, it just felt very similar to Red, White, and Royal Blue for that reason. And just because, oh my god, it's just so cute and so soft and just one of the cutest male-male romances. I just absolutely adore this book so much. And so if you've been looking for that cute, lighthearted, amazing male-male romance that you've wanted since Red, White, and Royal Blue, then I highly recommend The Charm Offensive. This one actually comes out in September. I think this one comes out September 7th. And it's great. Oh my god, it's so cute. And then the last one that I have for you is with a book that I'm still currently reading, so I can't fully recommend this, but I'm like already 100 pages into this, and I feel like it's an accurate comparison. So I would say if you like the book The Simple Wild by K.A. Tucker, I think you would really like It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. And again, I'm still only 100 pages into this, so I can't like wholeheartedly recommend this yet, but oh my god, these are both romance novels that follow this young female protagonist who moves from kind of like a city vibe down to like a small town vibe and has to deal with the change that comes with living in a city to a small town and dealing with a grumpy local who doesn't like them because he thinks that they're like a Barbie and like annoying. And in The Simple Wild, we're following this young girl named Calla who moves from a bigger city in Canada to Alaska because she finds out her father's dying, and so she wants to go and spend time with him in Alaska. And then she meets one of the locals, Jonah, who's a pilot, and he is very easily irritated with her because, you know, she's kind of like a city girl. She has a lot of suitcases, like things like that, you know. And then I feel like It Happened One Summer is like very similar in the sense that we're following this girl named Piper who is this very spoiled rich girl, like very much Alexis from Schitt's Creek vibes, and we kind of get to see what happens when her stepfather cuts her off from her money and forces her to move from Los Angeles to this very small island town in Washington state. And she meets one of the grumpy locals there, of course, Brendan, and he's convinced that she's this like plastic Barbie doll because she has all these suitcases and she's just like this rich girl. And it just has very similar energy and vibes to The Simple Wild. I especially love reading about these small town vibes too in both of these books because it's almost like the town is as much of a character as the rest of the characters in the book. In this book it's Alaska and in this book it's Washington, but either way I just really love reading the places that these books take place in as well. And yeah, so I'm still currently reading this one, but so far I'm loving it and I'm feeling like it's so much like The Simple Wild. Alright, well those are all of the book recommendations that I have for you today. If you agree with any of these recommendations, let me know. If you disagree, let me know. If you have any other books that you think are also very similar to these books, then of course, please let me know that as well. I don't even know how many times I said vibes in this video, so I apologize for that. And yeah, don't forget to check out Ana Luisa. My link will be in the description. And don't forget to use my discount code gabbyreads10 for 10% off. And thanks again so much to Ana Luisa for sponsoring today's video, and thanks again to you for watching this video. You're the coolest. And yeah, thanks for hanging out. I'll see you in another video very soon. Bye.